Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you've been a terrific audience today, and we've been doing a lot of singing, so I thought we'd take a short break from all of the singing so that I can tell you a quick little story. Now, it's a super important story, one that happened to me and the Spizzwinks not too long ago, just as we were off on our fabulous summer tour to, among other places, Johannesburg, South Africa. Now, the first thing you should know about me is that I'm not very smart. You see, the night before we were supposed to leave, we were staying up really, really late with my roommate playing Twister, and when I woke up the next morning with my right foot still on red, I found that much to my deep and abiding shame, the Spizzwinks had left without me. I was in a complete state of panic. I had no idea what to do, so I did what any of you probably would have done. I ran to the nearest airport. Yes, it was a long way, but I ran, and I jumped on the very first flight that I could find, thinking that naturally that plane would take me from New Haven, Connecticut, all the way to Johannesburg, South Africa. But when I got off that plane, when I deplaned, I found that I was not on the warm, welcoming, relatively safe streets of Johannesburg, no. I was on the mean, mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, as you may be aware, Cambridge is home to a small, unimportant, piddling... Gentlemen, please, it's called Harvard. Let me remind you that Harvard is the finest correctional facility on the mainland. So there I was, wandering those cobbled streets of Cambridge, trying my very best not to run into that famous Harvard alumnus, the Unabomber, when I started to notice a small crowd beginning to gather.
Gather, gather, gather.
And off in the distance, there was a house on fire!
Fire!
Flames were leaping everywhere!
Leaping!
But that was not the most astonishing thing, for no, ladies and gentlemen, atop that burning building wreathed in smoke, there stood a beautiful, young Harvard maiden. And she was holding her 6-month-old baby.
Check, please.
And she was shouting, "Help me! Help me! Somebody save me and my baby!" Well, the crowd thought for a minute. And then, the cleverest one among them shouted, "Jump! It's your only chance!"
Jump, it's your only chance! Chance!
They were a small but relatively well-organized crowd. "Oh no! It's far too far! We'll never make it!" she shouted. Well, the crowd was pretty exasperated. Oh. But, being intrepid souls, they thought for a moment more. And then, assuming really, really uncomfortable positions, they thought for what became an indefinite period of time.
Let's go.
Suddenly, inspiration struck. "Throw the baby," they shouted. "At least we can save the baby."
Throw the baby, at least we can save the baby.
Oh no! But who will catch him? He'll splatter on the ground like an egg! Or a hefty bag filled with Jell-O. Seemingly, all hope was lost. But it was then, just then in that very grim time, there stepped forth from that crowd the amazing, the incredible, the inimitable, the indominant Andover, Exeter the Third. He's so big! Indeed he was, ladies and gentlemen, for Andy was not your ordinary Harvard schmo, no Surrey Bob, no Ma'am Susan. Andy here was the star wide receiver for the Harvard Crimson football team. And Andy here was not about to drop that baby, because Andy never drops nothing. Nope. And so Andy decided to warm up with a few brief but invigorating stretching exercises. And then a buxom Harvard cheerleader emerged from that crowd to wish Andy a few words of moral encouragement.
Go, Andy.
Ooh la la, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. For it seemed like at that point, that was all our hero needed. For at last, Andy was ready.
Hey-ya!
That crowd was ready.
Hey-ya!
And even that tiny little baby in his mother's arms on top of that burning building wreathed in smoke, that little baby was ready.
Hey-ya!
And so that young Harvard mother faded back through what was about to become the most important past of her young yet tragically unfulfilled life. And she threw that baby. It was a perfect spiral. It went to the right. It went to the left. And seemingly defying all known laws of physics, it went back to the right again. And with a dive, Andy caught that baby. He was so excited, he spiked it. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moral to every story. You know, this story's moral should be quite clear. That is exactly what happens when you or a loved one goes to Harvard. Thank you very much.